Yes, good afternoon all. The topic for the today's lecture is the domestication. Okay, up till now we have discussed about the concept of plant breeding, aims and objectives of the plant breeding, and the second lecture we have discussed about the different activities which are very important in the plant breeding. Okay, the first of all, plant breeding means what? The plant breeding means it is the branch of botany, it is the applied branch of botany that mainly deals with the change in the heredity or change in the genetic constitution of the plant, and and to produce the new crop varieties which are far better or superior than that of the existing varieties. Okay, this branch we called it as a plant breeding. Plant breeding, it is the applied branch of agricultural sciences or the botany which mainly contributes maximum to the increase in production of the food material. Okay, plant breeding. Then we have discussed the different aims and objectives of the plant breeding. The main objective, the principal objective of the plant breeding is to produce the new crop variety which is far better or superior than that of the existing variety. That is the main principle, that is the main aim and objective of the plant breeding. Apart from this objective, there are certain objectives which varies from crop to crop, and we have discussed in brief all these objectives. Okay, then we have discussed the different activities in the plant breeding. In that lecture we have discussed there are four principal methods which are used for the improvement of agricultural crops. Okay, these methods are universal. These four methods, these are used to improve the agricultural crops all over the world. In this one was the first method, domestication, plant introduction, and acclimatization. The first method was domestication, plant introduction, and acclimatization. Second method was selection. Third one, hybridization. And the last one is the most advanced method of plant breeding is the mutation breeding. Okay, four principal methods used to improve the agricultural crops. Okay, but whatever may be the method, there are certain activities which are very common in all these methods. Okay, all these activities, these are carried out in a well coordinated manner. Okay, these activities are: the first one, creation of variation; second one, selection; third one, evaluation; fourth one, multiplication; and the last one is the distribution. Okay, don't forget that these five principal activities in the plant breeding. First one is creation of variation, second one is the selection, third one is the evaluation, fourth one was the multiplication, and the last one, distribution. Okay, we have discussed all these activities in detail in the last lecture. Now we are moving towards the four principal methods which are used to develop the new crop variety. Okay, in this one, the first of all we are going to discuss the domestication. Later on we will discuss the plant introduction and the acclimatization. Okay, this is considered as the first method of the plant breeding. Okay, domestication, plant introduction, and acclimatization, this is considered as the first method of plant breeding. Okay, in this one we are going to discuss the domestication in this lecture. Okay, what is mean by domestication? The domestication, it can be easily defined as bringing the process of bringing wild species under the human management according to the needs of the human being is called as the domestication. Okay, I'm repeating this one. Domestication, it is nothing but the process of bringing wild species under the human management according to their needs is called as the domestication. ओके, सिंपल मराठीमध्ये एकदम सांगायचं झालं तर समजा आपण एखाद्या जंगलात गेलो किंवा आपण फिरायला गेलो कुठं, तिथे एखादं झाड आपल्याला आवडलं, वाईल्ड म्हणजे जे ॲग्रिकल्चरमध्ये म्हणजे फार्मरच्या फील्डवरती नाहीये असं जर प्लांट आवडलं, तर आपण काय करतो, त्याचे सीड्स किंवा ते प्लांट आणून घरी आपण त्याला कल्टिवेट करतो, त्याला नर्चर करतो व्यवस्थित. ओके, म्हणजे त्याला फर्टिलायझर देतो, त्याला आपण व्यवस्थितरित्या वॉटरिंग करतो, त्याची कटिंग करतो आणि त्याची केअर करतो. ओके, that is simply the domestication, the process of bringing the wild species under the human management according to their needs is called as the domestication. Okay, the domestication, it is nothing but the process of bringing wild weedy species under the human management according to their needs is called as the domestication. Okay, is called as the domestication. Present day cultivated crops, all the crops which are used for the cultivation, all the crops which are used for the cultivation in the present day, all these cultivated crops derived from the domestication of wild weedy species. Okay, that means all the crops which we cultivate in the field. Okay, any type of cereal or the any type of millet or the pulses. Okay, for example, we can say wheat is there, jawar is there. Okay, then the different types of the pulses like the green gram, black gram, all these crops, these are believed to be derived from the process of domestication of wild weedy species. Okay, then the domestication means the bringing the wild species under the human management is considered as the first step in the development of the crops, or we can say the domestication, it is considered or it is believed to be the first step in the improvement of the crops. Okay, then the domestication begin. It is believed to be that domestication began more than 10,000 years ago when man begins the agriculture. Okay, that is when the nomad man changed his lifestyle to the agriculturist. ओके, म्हणजे ॲग्रिकल्चर कधी चालू झालं? सगळ्यात पहिल्यांदा माणूस टोळके करून राहू लागले आणि मग ते काय झालं, सगळेजण मिळून राहायला लागले टोळी करून. तेव्हा त्यांना ते एका ठिकाणी सेटल होण्यासाठी त्यांनी काय केलं, तर जंगलातले जे काही प्लांट्स त्यांना उपयोगाचे वाटले त्याचे सीड्स कलेक्ट केले त्यांनी आणि त्याचं त्यांनी एका ठिकाणी व्यवस्थित जमीन सपाट करून व्यवस्थित लेवलिंग करून तिथं त्यांनी त्याचं सोईंग केलं. Okay, that is the domestication. Okay, that's why it is believed that the domestication, it is the oldest method of the प्लांट ब्रीडिंग. ओके, आणि डोमेस्टिकेशन पेक्षा सुद्धा ओल्डेस्ट मेथड कोणती कन्सिडर केली जाते, तर सिलेक्शन. ओके, कारण त्यांना डोमेस्टिकेट करायच्या अगोदर काय केलं फार्मर्स, नोमॅड मॅन्सनी किंवा जे प्री हिस्टॉरिक मॅन होते त्यांनी काय केलं, तर काय दे हॅव सिलेक्टेड द सर्टन टाइप ऑफ द प्लांट्स ॲज पर देअर needs. Okay, that means selection, it is considered as the oldest method of the plant breeding. Okay, that question it may be asked for the MCQ, that is, which is the oldest method in plant breeding? Domestication, selection, then hybridization and mutation breeding. Okay, you should not be get confused between the domestication and the selection. Okay, that is to domesticate the certain type of the wild weedy species. The prehistoric man certainly must have carried out the selection unknowingly. Okay, unknowingly, because he was not aware regarding the any inheritance or the any scientific basis, that was not having any scientific basis. Just as per the need, prehistoric man must have selected the certain type of the plant. That's why we are saying the selection, it is the oldest method of the plant breeding. Okay, here we are studying the domestication. Then the domestication, it is believed to be begin more than 10,000 years ago when the man begins agriculture. That means the when the nomad man, nomad म्हणजे जो फार पूर्वीचा प्री हिस्टॉरिक किंवा जो टोळी करून राहत होता. ओके, इट इज बिलीव्ड टू बी बिगिन मोर दॅन 10,000 years ago when man begins the agriculture. Okay, prehistoric man knowingly or unknowingly carried out the selection of the certain type of the wild weedy species. ओके, टू बिगिन द ॲग्रिकल्चर म्हणजे ॲग्रिकल्चर स्टार्ट करण्यासाठी काय, तर काही प्लांटचं कलेक्शन करून त्याचे सीड्स त्यांना हवे होते. ओके, प्री हिस्टॉरिक मॅन knowingly or unknowingly carried out the certain type of the selection. Okay, that is depending upon the characteristics that made the plant suitable for their need. त्यांना आवश्यक असणारे काही प्लांटचं त्यांनी सिलेक्शन केलं. Okay, the first cultivated plants, these were believed to be the legumes, cereals, and the plant producing the fruits and the roots. Okay, these were considered as the first domesticated plants, first cultivated plants. Okay, different types of the legumes, cereals, plants producing the fruits and the roots. Okay, then the next one. Okay, plant producing the roots. Then the domestication. The 1 minute, please. एकच मिनिट हा, बॅटरी जाते लॅपटॉपची. ओके, देन domestication. Domestication, it is still being done and likely to continue for the long time in the future. Yes, domestication, it is a continuous process. Okay, continuous process. Domestication, it is still being done and likely to continue for the long time in future. Okay, because the species which are having very little importance today likely to become the significant in future. Okay, we are saying that the domestication, it is a continuous process, it is still being done and likely to continue for long time in the future. Domestication म्हणजे काय, जवळपास 10,000 वर्षापूर्वी जेव्हा ऍग्रिकल्चर चालू झालं तेव्हापासून चालू आहे. आता पण डोमेस्टिकेशनची प्रोसेस चालू आहे आणि भविष्यात सुद्धा ही प्रोसेस कंटिन्यू राहणार आहे. का, कारण काही अशा प्लांट स्पेसीज आहेत, समजा आज आपल्याला त्याचा इम्पॉर्टन्स वाटत नाहीये, त्याची आपल्याला आवश्यकता वाटत नाहीये, पण भविष्यामध्ये काय, तर त्याची आवश्यकता वाटू शकते आणि हळूहळू त्याचं डोमेस्टिकेशन किंवा कल्टिवेशन करायला फार्मर्स चालू करतील. Okay, that's why we are seeing here the domestication, it is still being done and likely to continue for long time in the future because the species having the little importance today likely to become the significant in future. Okay, and this is very true for the microorganisms producing the antibiotics. Okay, the microorganisms, these microorganisms in the earlier days, these were not important to us. Okay, but later on with the advancement of the scientific knowledge, they become very important to us because most of the organisms, these were producing the antibiotics. Okay, then the organisms which are involved in the nitrogen fixation, then the chemicals important in the industrial medical interest. Okay, the microorganism, these are certain producing the certain type of the chemicals which are very important in the industrial and the medical interest. Then the certain types of the plants which are producing the timbers and the other plant products. Okay, then different types of the medicinal plants. Okay, today it may happen that the particular plant, it is having a certain medicinal property but we are not aware about it, but in latter days the medicinal property, it is discovered by the it may be discovered by the scientist, and in the future that plant, it may assume very importance or significance to the human life. Okay, that is the plants producing the timbers and the other products, medicinal plants and the plants fulfilling the specific नीड्स. म्हणजे थोडक्यात काय, कंटिन्युअस प्रोसेस का म्हणतोय, समजा एखादं प्लांट आहे, त्याच्यामध्ये काही मेडिसिनल व्हॅल्यूज आहेत, पण त्याची आपल्याला आज काही माहिती नाहीये, पण स्टडी करत असताना भविष्यामध्ये काय होईल, त्या प्लांटची मेडिसिनल प्रॉपर्टी किंवा त्याची जी काही आवश्यकता आहे, ते जर आपल्याला कळालं तर काय होऊन जाईल, भविष्यामध्ये त्या प्लांटचं महत्व वाढेल आणि त्याचं हळूहळू फार्मर्स काय करायला तर कल्टिवेशन करायला चालू करतील. दॅट्स वाय वी आर सेइंग द डोमेस्टिकेशन इट इज स्टिल बिंग डन and likely to continue for long time in the future, because the species having the little importance today likely to become significant in the future. And especially it is true for the microorganisms producing the antibiotics, then nitrogen fixation, chemicals important in the industrial and the medical interest, plants producing the timbers, other products, medicinal plants, plants fulfilling the specific needs. Okay, the notable cases of the recent domestication are, the examples of the recent domestication are the members of the U4BAC in the Japan and United States. Okay, in the Japan and the United States. In the Japan and United States, in the recent date, the several species of the U4BC, these are domesticated and these are cultivated, because the species of the U4BAC, these are known to produce the latex. लॅटेक्स U4BAC चे मेंबर, काही काही प्लांटला तुम्हाला माहित असेल बघा, जर त्याचं पान किंवा असं खोड जर काढलं तर असा पांढरा चीक येतो त्याला. ठीक आहे, असा चिकट पदार्थ पांढरा त्याच्यातून बाहेर पडतो बऱ्याचशा. आणि दीज दीज आर द मेंबर्स ऑफ द U4BAC. These are known to produce the latex, and this latex it is extracted for the production of the petroleum products. ओके, पेट्रोलियमचे प्रोडक्ट्स तयार करण्यासाठी ते काय करतात तर हे मेंबर्स यूज केले जातात. Okay, the several members of the U4BAC, these were domesticated recently in the Japan and the US, and these several species of the U4BAC, these are known to produce the latex. Okay, and latex, this is extracted, and from this latex the different types of the petroleum products are synthesized or formed. Okay, then the another notable case of recent domestication is the cultivation of jojoba in India. Jojoba, it is a some certain type of a plant which is found as a wild weedy species in India. Then this jojoba, the DST, okay, Department of Science and Technology of Government, carried out the project on cultivation of jojoba in the arid zones of Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, then Maharashtra, then Gujarat, and Uttar Pradesh. Okay, DST, Department of Science and Technology, carried out a project of cultivation of wild weedy species of jojoba in the arid zones of India. Arid zones, these are primarily in Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Uttar Pradesh. Okay, the seeds of the jojoba, from the seeds of the jojoba, the certain type of oil is extracted, and this oil it is believed to be suitable as the industrial lubricant. ओके, म्हणजे इंडियन सायंटिस्टच्या असं लक्षात आलं की जोजोबाचे जे सीड्स असतात त्या सीड्समध्ये ऑइल्स असतात, आणि त्या ऑइल्सला एक्स्ट्रॅक्ट केलं तर इंडस्ट्रीमध्ये ॲज अ लुब्रिकंट म्हणून त्याचा खूप इम्पॉर्टन्स आहे. त्याच्यामुळे त्यांनी काय केलं तर फार्मर्सला त्याचे सीड देऊन त्याचं कमर्शियल लेवलला डोमेस्टिकेट करून कल्टिवेशन चालू करण्यात आलं. Okay, these are the notable cases of the recent domestication in Japan, US, and India. Okay, several species of the U4BAC, these were cultivated, these were domesticated in Japan and US for the latex. These species were known to produce the certain type of the latex, and from this latex the different petroleum products can be isolated or the extracted. Then the Department of Science and Technology in India carried out a large scale project on the cultivation of the jojoba in the arid zones of India. Arid zones of India, this is in Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and Gujarat. The seeds, from the seeds of the jojoba, the oil is extracted, and that oil it is believed to be important as an industrial lubricant. Okay, then another important thing regarding the domestication, it is believed to be the most basic method of the crop improvement. Okay, remember that the domestication, it is considered as the most basic method of crop improvement. Okay, it is the most basic method of plant improvement. Okay, because all other methods like the plant introduction, acclimatization, then selection, hybridization, and mutation breeding, all these methods are applicable only after it has been successfully domesticated. ओके, म्हणजे जे बाकीच्या मेथड आहेत, प्लांट इंट्रोडक्शन असेल, नंतर हायब्रिडायझेशन असेल, म्युटेशन असेल, हे कधी शक्य आहे? एकदा का ते प्लांट डोमेस्टिकेट केलं तरच. डोमेस्टिकेट केलं म्हणजे काय? तर त्याचं कल्टिवेशन केलं ॲग्रिकल्चरल फार्ममध्ये, तरच काय, तर बाकीच्या मेथड ह्या त्या क्रॉपला इम्प्रूव्ह करण्यासाठी यूज केल्या जाऊ शकतात. That's why we are saying the domestication, it is believed to be the most basic method of the most basic method of crop improvement, because all other methods like the plant introduction and acclimatization, then hybridization and mutation breeding, all these methods are applicable to the plant species once that species is domesticated. Okay, that's why it is believed to be the most basic method of the crop improvement. Then under domestication, plant species changed considerably as compared to the wild species from which they are originated. Okay, so suppose that a species which is growing wild in the nature, and that species it is domesticated, it is cultivated, then there are certain changes takes place due to the continuous domestication year after year in that species. ओके, म्हणजे काय, सो एकदम सोपं सरळ सांगायचं झालं तर काय, समजा एखादी स्पेसीज आहे जी वाईल्ड, एकदम वाईल्ड आपल्या काय होते तर नेचरमध्ये येते, पण त्या स्पेसीजला आपण जर आणून जर त्याचं डोमेस्टिकेशन केलं, त्याचं केअर करायला चालू केलं, तर काय होतं, जनरेशन आफ्टर जनरेशन त्याचं कल्टिवेशन केल्यामुळं त्या प्लांटमध्ये चेंजेस यायला चालू होऊन जातात. ओके, म्हणजे लगेच चेंजेस येत नाहीत, म्हणजे आपण लावले लगेच त्याच्यात पुढच्या जनरेशनमध्ये, त्याच्या पुढच्या जनरेशनमध्ये असं होत नाही. इट इज व्हेरी स्लो प्रोसेस, बट द चेंजेस टेक्स प्लेस इन दीज क्रॉप्स. Okay, under domestication, the plant species changed considerably as compared to the wild species from which they originated. Okay, these changes brought about by selection by man and nature are often so great that the crops are classified as the distinct species. Okay, the changes which takes place in these crops, these are mainly by the two factor. The first one, natural selection, and another one, artificial selection. Artificial selection, the selection which is carried out by the human being. Okay, the artificial which is carried out by the human being. And the natural selection means the survival of the fittest, that is the species which is having the capacity to adapt the changing environmental conditions, they get survived and other wipe out. Okay, that means the changes which are brought about in the which are brought about by the selection by man and nature are often so great that crops are classified as a distinct species. Distinct species means that is we cannot identify the wild weedy species from which these crops were originated, and now we are uh, we are saying that is these are now the completely different species. ओके, म्हणजे ज्या वाईल्ड वेडी स्पेसीज जर आपण कल्टिवेट केले, तर वर्षानुवर्ष त्याचं कल्टिवेशन केल्यामुळे काय, त्याच्यामध्ये खूप सारे चेंजेस आलेत, आणि आता आपल्याला ती वाईल्ड स्पेसीज ज्याच्यापासून आजचं जे प्लांट आहे तयार झालेलं आहे ते आपल्याला माहित नाही. त्याच्यामुळे आपण काय करतोय, तर ह्या कल्टिवेट केलेल्या स्पेसीजला एक वेगळी स्पेसीज असं कन्सिडर करत असतो. Okay, these changes brought about by the selection by man and the nature are often so great that crops are classified as the distinct species. Okay, in many cases, their parental wild species are definitely not known. Okay, in most of the cases, now the changes are so severe that their original parent wild species are not known to us. ओके, म्हणजे हे चेंजेस इतके झालेले आहेत प्लांटमध्ये की आपल्याला त्याचे ओरिजिनल जी वाईल्ड विडी स्पेसीज आहे, ज्याच्यापासून ह्या कल्टिवेटेड स्पेसीज तयार झालेल्या आहेत, ते आपल्याला माहिती नाही आहेत. ओके, द चेंजेस विच आर ऑकर्ड इन these crops are so great that we cannot identify their original parental wild विडी species. ठीक आहे, लक्षात आलं. म्हणजे या क्रॉप्समध्ये इतके चेंजेस झालेले आहेत की ते क्रॉप्स कोणत्या वाईल्ड विडी स्पेसीज पासून तयार झालेले आहेत ते सुद्धा आपल्याला आयडेंटिफाय करता येऊ शकता नाही. Okay, that is our record of planned or systematic selection goes only as far back as the middle 19th century. Okay, we are knowing about the wild weed species as far as up to the 19th century. Before this period the efforts were unfocused. Okay, before this one, the improvement in the agricultural crop, these efforts were these were carried out in unscientific manner, and these were completely unfocused. Okay, though the efforts for the improvement in the agricultural crops, these were very primitive and unscientific, but the prehistoric man was not a bad breeder at all. Okay, we are saying the mm, though the primitive efforts which were unscientific, but the primitive man, he was not the bad breeder at all, because we are saying all the crop species which are used for the cultivation in present day, all these are derived from the wild woody species. Okay, that's why we are saying the prehistoric man was not a plant breeder. ओके, लक्षात आलं. म्हणजे आपलं जे रेकॉर्ड आहे प्लांट स्पेसीजचं, म्हणजे की बाबा कुठल्या वाईल्ड विडी स्पेसीज पासून कुठलं ॲग्रिकल्चरल क्रॉप हे डेव्हलप झालेलं आहे, हे कुठपर्यंत जातं तर 19th सेंचुरी पर्यंत आपल्याला त्याचं रेकॉर्ड भेटू शकतं, पण त्याच्यापेक्षा जुनं रेकॉर्ड आपल्याकडे नाही आहे. ओके, जुनं रेकॉर्ड जरी आपल्याकडे नसलं आणि त्यावेळेला सायन्स एवढं डेव्हलप झालेलं नसलं, तरी पण प्री हिस्टॉरिक मॅन हा खूप हुशार होता. कारण का, आपण आज जे सगळे क्रॉप्स यूज करतोय कन्झम्पशनसाठी, हे सगळे क्रॉप कशामुळे डेव्हलप झालेले आहेत, वर्षानुवर्ष त्यांनी त्याचं डोमेस्टिकेशन केलेलं आहे, त्याच्यामुळं ते डेव्हलप होत होत आजचे ॲग्रिकल्चरल क्रॉप्स डेव्हलप झालेले आहेत. ओके, दॅट्स वाय वी आर सेइंग द प्री हिस्टॉरिक मॅन, ही वॉज नॉट अ बॅड plant breeder. He was not aware regarding the inheritance of character, but he must have selected the certain types of the crops which were growing wildly in the nature, and due to which then they carried out the domestication of these wild weed species, and due to which the today's all the agricultural crops are derived. Okay, then some of the common changes which are brought about by the domestication are, the first one here you can see the elimination or the reduction of shattering of pods or the spike. Okay, here there is some spelling mistake, spattering, it is not spattering, that is I think the laptop has done the auto correcting. Here the elimination or the reduction in the shattering of pods and the spikes. Okay, then the second change, elimination of dormancy of seed. Okay, dormancy, it is the resting period within the plants. Okay, the elimination of dormancy in some of the plant due to the domestication, the dormancy or the resting period in the seed, it is completely eliminated. For example, moong, barley and the wheat. ओके, म्हणजे मूग, बार्ली आणि बीट हे प्लांट जे होते त्याच्यामध्ये पहिल्यांदा डॉर्मन्सी किंवा रेस्टिंग पिरियड हा सीड्समध्ये नव्हता वाईल्ड विडी स्पेसीज असताना, पण डोमेस्टिकेशन केल्यामुळं किंवा कल्टिवेशन केल्यामुळं काय झालं तर त्याच्यातला रेस्टिंग पिरियड किंवा डॉर्मन्सी हा इलिमिनेट झाला. ओके, द इलिमिनेशन ऑफ डॉर्मन्सी इन द मूग, बार्ली अँड द wheat. Okay, then the next one, the decrease in toxins or the other undesirable substances. Okay, decrease in toxin due to the domestication, that is the toxic substances or the undesirable substances get eliminated or they get reduced. Okay, for example we can see the bitter principle in the cucurbitaceae family. bitter principle in the Cucurbitaceae family. That is the example of domestic changes which occurred due to the domestication, decrease in toxins or the other undesirable substances. बिटर प्रिन्सिपल इन द कुकुर्बिटेसी. बिटर म्हणजे काय? कडवटपणा. आणि कुकुर्बिटेसी फॅमिली म्हणजे काय? ज्याच्यामध्ये आपलं काकडी येतं, कुकुंबर म्हणजे आपलं कद्दू येतं. ठीक आहे. तर कधी बघितलं का आपण ना, जे आता तुम्ही जर करत असताल किंवा जे मुली असतील त्यांनी केली असेल तर त्यांना माहित असेल, किंवा मुलांनी त्यांच्या आईंना करताना बघितलेलं असेल. आपण काय करतो, काकडी कापली की पहिल्यांदा त्याचं जे थोडासा भाग आहे थोडासा चाटून बघतो की बाबा काकडी कडू आहे का, किंवा तो कद्दू कडू आहे का. ओके, कडू जर असेल तर आपण तो यूज करत नाही. ओके, तर काय, दॅट इज द अनडिझायरेबल सबस्टन्स, बिटर प्रिन्सिपल. ओके, तर ह्याचा अर्थ काय, जेव्हा ह्याचं वाईल्ड जेव्हा ते होते तेव्हा त्याच्यामध्ये काय, तर हे अनडिझायरेबल सबस्टन्सेस होते किंवा काही टॉक्सिक सबस्टन्सेस होते. पण त्याचं डोमेस्टिकेशन केल्यामुळं काय झालं, वर्षानुवर्षे कल्टिवेशन केल्यामुळं हळूहळू त्याच्यातले जे टॉक्सिक एलिमेंट्स आहेत किंवा हे जे अनडिझायरेबल सबस्टन्सेस आहेत हे कमी कमी होत गेले. Okay, that is the classic example. Okay, the third one, here we are discussing the decrease in toxins or the other undesirable substances. For example, the bitter, kadvatpana, BITTER, bitter principle in the Cucurbitaceae. Okay, bitter principle in the Cucurbitaceae provides the classical example. Okay, decrease in toxins or the other undesirable substances. Then the fourth one, here you can see increase in size of the grains or the fruit. Okay, increase in size of the grains or the fruits due to the domestication in certain type of the plants. There is a increase in size of the grains and the fruits. Then the fifth one, here you can see the plant type change, like the decrease or increase in height. Okay, in certain type of the plant which were growing as a wild species, but when these were domesticated, it is found that their height get decreased. ओके, म्हणजे ते वाईल्ड विडी स्पेसीज होते, पण जेव्हा त्याचं डोमेस्टिकेशन केलं, काही प्लांट्समध्ये काय झालं तर त्याची हाईट ही कमी झाली, आणि काही प्लांटमध्ये काय झालं तर त्याची हाईट ही वाढली. Okay, increase or decrease in height. Okay, for the classic example, decrease in height are the certain type of the cereals and the millets. Okay, cereals and the millets म्हणजे मेज असेल किंवा व्हीट असेल, हे जे सिरियल्स आहेत. ओके, मिलेट म्हणजे आपलं बाजरी असेल. ओके, ह्याच्यामध्ये काय झालं, जेव्हा ते वाईल्ड विडी स्पेसीज होते तेव्हा त्यांची हाईट खूप होती, पण जेव्हा त्यांना डोमेस्टिकेट केलं तेव्हा त्यांची हाईट कमी झाली. Okay, that is the example of decrease in height in cereals and the millet. And the increased height due to the domestication in the plants like the sugarcane, jute, and the forage grasses, there was increase in the height. ओके, डोमेस्टिकेशन मुळे काय झालं तर शुगर केन मध्ये, ज्यूट मध्ये आणि फॉरेज ग्रासेस मध्ये. फॉरेज ग्रास म्हणजे काय, जे की आपण जनावरांना कडबा म्हणून टाकतो. Okay, that is the height was increased. Then the other characters which were influenced are the more number of tillers, leaf size, branching pattern, etc. Okay, then the life cycle, or we can say the early maturity. Okay, the life cycle in some of the plant, due to the domestication the life cycle becomes shorter. There is the, that means the crop get matured very early. Okay, the example of this is the cotton and the kajanas kajan. Okay, kajanas kajan म्हणजे आपली तूर डाळ. ओके, हे प्लांट जेव्हा डोमेस्टिकेट केले तेव्हा काय झालं तर त्यांची मॅच्युरिटी लवकर झाली किंवा त्यांची लाईफ सायकल ही शॉर्ट झाली. ओके, हिअर द सिक्स वन यू कॅन सी द अर्ली मॅच्युरिटी ड्यू टू द डोमेस्टिकेशन द लाईफ सायकल इन सर्टन टाइप ऑफ द प्लांट्स like the cotton and kajanas kajan, the life cycle becomes shorter. Okay, then here the increase in economical yield, increase in the economical yield. Then number 8, change in photoperiodic behavior, change in photoperiodic behavior. Then here you can see the mode of reproduction. Mode of reproduction, the, for example, the crops which were dioecious. Dioecious means their male flower and the female flower, these were growing on the two different plants. Okay, due to the domestication, what happened? The bisexual forms were developed in the plants. Okay, म्हणजे बायसेक्शुअल फॉर्म्स डेव्हलप झाले म्हणजे काय, तर एकाच झाडावरती मेल फ्लावर फिमेल फ्लावर किंवा एकाच झाडावरती बायसेक्शुअल फ्लावर्स त्याच्यामध्ये डेव्हलप झाले, जे की पहिल्यांदा डायोशियस होते, म्हणजे ज्याच्यामध्ये मेल आणि फिमेल फ्लावर वेगवेगळ्या प्लांट वरती येत होते. ओके, that is the mode of reproduction was also changed. Okay, then the next one, the pollination habit was also changed. Okay, then there are certain changes which were found in the synchrony in the flowering. Okay, then number 12, here you can see the loss of defensive adaptations like hairs, thorns, and etc. Okay, then you can see the selection of bisexual variety rather than dioecious. Okay, just we have discussed the dioecious forms, it get changed to the bisexual forms. Okay, then decrease in variability, that is due to the domestication. What happened, their genetic variation, was decreased drastically. ओके, कंटिन्युअस डोमेस्टिकेशन केल्यामुळं काय झालं, तर अशा प्लांट मधलं जे जेनेटिक व्हेरिएशन होतं ते व्हेरिएशन एकदम ड्रास्टिकली कमी झालं. दॅट इज द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टंट चेंज इन द प्लांट विच इज ब्रॉट अबाउट बाय द डोमेस्टिकेशन. ओके, डिक्रीज इन द व्हरायबिलिटी. Okay, decrease in variability, there is a drastic decrease in the genetic variation in the plants which were decreased, and that's why the variability within the variety or within the species drastically decreased. Okay, and the last one, here you can see the selection of polyploidy. You can see the selection of polyploidy. Okay, then these are the changes which were brought about by the domestication. Okay, we have discussed the different changes which are brought about the domestication. That is due to the domestication, the wild weed species where these were growing as a wild species, but when these species was brought under the human management, when these were domesticated and these were cultivated for many years, these were cultivated for the continuously of generation after generation, certain changes takes place in these plants. Okay, here you can see the last one, the selection of polyploidy under the domestication. There is many of the domesticated plant species are the polyploidy. For example, potato, wheat, sweet potato, tobacco. Okay, while the diploid counterparts are present in nature. Okay, the diploid counterparts of these species, these are present in nature, but under domestication the many of the domesticated plant species are polyploidy. म्हणजे नेचर मध्ये त्यांचे काउंटर पार्ट्स किंवा वेगळ्या स्पेसीज बघितल्या तर त्या डिप्लॉइड आहेत, पण आपण ज्या डोमेस्टिकेट केल्या किंवा कल्टिवेट केल्या त्या काय तर पॉलीप्लॉइडी आहेत. Okay, many of the domesticated plant species are polyploidies. For example, potato, wheat, sweet potato, tobacco. Okay, that is Nicotiana species, etc. While their diploid counterparts are present in the nature. Okay, then we have discussed the mode of reproduction. Okay, here the ninth number, the mode of reproduction. In many crop species, the asexual reproduction has been promoted under domestication. Okay, change of reproduction म्हणजे काय, समजा पहिल्यांदा वाईल्ड सपोज that is these species were growing as a wild weed species. In these species the sexual reproduction was takes place, but when these plants were domesticated, when these plants were cultivated, asexual reproduction was promoted. Okay, for example, the species in which the asexual reproduction was promoted, this is the sugarcane, पोटॅटो अँड स्वीट पोटॅटो. ओके, म्हणजे जेव्हा ते वाईल्ड वीड स्पेसीज होते, नेचरमध्ये वाढत होते आपल्या आप, तेव्हा त्याच्यामध्ये सेक्शुअल रिप्रोडक्शन होतं. पण जेव्हा तुम्ही ते क्रॉप डोमेस्टिकेट करायला चालू केले, कल्टिवेट करायला चालू केले, तेव्हा काय झालं तर त्याच्यामध्ये असेक्शुअल रिप्रोडक्शन व्हायला चालू केलं. Okay, that is we call it as a changes in the mode of reproduction. That is number 9 we are discussing. In many crop species, asexual reproduction has been promoted under domestication. For example, sugarcane and the potato. Okay, that is, these are the different types of the changes which takes place in the living organism. Okay, that is all about the domestication. Okay, here I am stopping the sharing of our PowerPoint presentation, as our first article on the domestication is over. Okay, I think it is 12:44. That's why we are